Well, hi everyone. We're back, all well prepared for another evening. It's a bit of a mad dash today. We hardly made it with the traffic. Yeah, so great to see you guys again. We're going to be talking tonight about the royal family, the Crown. We've been watching the Crown on telly, and I'm sure a lot of you have already on Netflix. But even if you haven't, it still don't matter. We're going to talk about things around the royal family to begin with. And then we'll also have a chat about anything else that you like, so we'll bring all that in. We've got a little video clip part way through as well, with Jane and I in the Elma tunnel in Paris. And let's just say a few hellos first, shall we?
Why not?
Oh, just noticed you're wearing a tiara.
Yes, you bow down to me, sir. Mrs. Christmas here. You just notice what I'm wearing.
See that? Oh dear. Right. Okay. That's a good one for the royal family then. So, hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Rebecca. Yeah.
And Gail. Hello from Scotland. Yeah.
They love the royal family up there. And
Ava.
Hiya, Ava.
Nancy.
Tennessee.
Spirit animal. Hello from Canada and British born and raised
in the GB. Yeah. Hi from Los Angeles.
Hi.
They've got most of the royal family over there now, haven't they?
No, they're here tonight. Here. Patrice.
Happy Friday from Hawaii.
Oh,
so it looks like we whipped right round the world here already, haven't we? Hi, Craig and Jane. Lovely to see you both.
Lovely to see you too.
You both look very royal.
We are.
Yeah. Yeah. I took hours preparing what I was going to wear today. Hello from Paris. Oh, that's interesting, Casper. You're where it happened. Where it happened. And Brittany. Hi there. Ninan. Right. Okay. Well, we decided we were enjoying watching that Crown. It's on Netflix at the moment. And actually, also, we've got some new stuff coming up as well, just at the top of the show, so I don't forget it for later on. We're hoping to do an interview with Deepak Chopra soon. So be doing that up in London. So keep a watch on the channel, because if you like Deepak Chopra, he's a very, very interesting man. He's going to be talking about quantum healing with us. It'll be a coffee with Craig one for this one, but we're going into all that and you'll be able to watch that. I don't think we'll probably do that live, but we'll see. But coming up soon, and we might even have some a competition later on, hopefully for you, if you like, to win some tickets. Not tonight, but we've got that.
So you do coffee with Craig. I might do supper with Charles.
Supper with Charles, yeah. Tea with the Queen, tea with the King. That's what you need, Jade, isn't it? Tea with the King. We're open for that if you're watching, Charles. Right. So, okay, let's talk about the. Of course, as a psychic sort of couple, obviously we need to sort of take a psychic sort of view of some of these things too, because those that follow the channel will already know that we did a big thing some years back called Spirit of Diana, which is out there on YouTube if you want to look.
They still sell it in Harrods, actually,
and they still sell it on DVD. Yeah, and I think you can download it from Amazon. We don't make anything from that, but it's quite it's quite fun to watch what we were up to. When did we make Spirit of Diana? It was going back a while.
It must be at least 10 years ago, because we had to fly to Paris, we had to go to London, and then we had to go to New York, and we had to travel with Princess Diana's royal correspondents and secretaries.
So basically the show, those that don't know, because we've shown you some clips on here already, but we were asked to do a seance to connect with the spirit of Princess Diana a few years after her death, so it was a bit controversial, of course. And they gathered together her friends and confidants, they called it, but people that knew her well, because you can't just do a contact with someone just out of the blue like that. You do need people to verify what you're getting right or wrong. And it was a very successful seance, wasn't it? It went very, very well. And for us, it was a real eye-opener, because they took us on the journey that Diana did, place by place, in Paris, to pick up on all the different sites,
and
Dodie's flat,
the
Ritz, the jewellery shops they looked at, the side entrance she escaped from, through the Elma tunnel, and we went through the whole and then came back to London and did a seance around this, literally like a seance around the seance room table. It was all for the camera there, but basically a reading to connect the spirit with the Diana, and both of us did, I think.
Well, we did
pretty
do well,
well,
and
I
they told
think.
us afterwards they caught the spirit of Diana like a blue aura going around us too on camera.
And the
But they didn't show
testimonials, the
that
guys
bit.
that did the readings with us were real spot on. They said we really spot on with things we couldn't have known. Only Diana knew.
Well, we didn't meet those people till we sit round
No,
the
that's
table.
right. And we had it all, was all covered by. They had a few skeptics in to make sure nobody could cheat, and that there was no. We weren't to know anything in advance, and we were kept separate from the place. Me and Jane were kept separate, and then we were brought in. So it was very daunting to do, particularly since such a lot of money had been spent on this. You know, I mean, they had all the cranes coming down with the cameras.
Yeah, all I can remember, that huge chandelier. All I remembered and kept thinking, it's like Blythe's spirit this going into the room.
And of course, as a medium, you can't guarantee that you're going to get a link. I say this to people, even they come for a reading. You can't guarantee you get any link whatsoever, let alone who you're going to get through. You know, you can't summon spirits, as they say. You know, you just have to open yourself and pray it's going to happen. And I just felt Diana on the spirit side, I could almost feel her giggling when we were doing it, wasn't it, Jane? I could almost think that she's up to it. She's up to the slightly mischievous, but also I think wanted to try to help clear up some of the stuff, actually, that had happened. And so when we watched the Netflix the other night, it's just gone live on here in the UK. I presume it's gone live already in America, or it's about to go live. I expect most of you in America have got it on Netflix. I thought it was well worth a watch.
Absolutely. And the actress was just like Princess Diana and sounded like an incredible actress.
Yeah, she was. I can't remember
you
what her
really
name
thought
was
that was Diana.
She got all the movements looking
And
down, wasn't she, and looking
William-
up through the hair.
William and Harry, that was very like.
They're very like
Yeah.
Harry looked particularly like he did, didn't he?
I didn't
And,
think Prince Charles did though.
Charles didn't really come across well, but Al Fayed, my goodness, you could
looked
hardly
like
tell
him.
the difference.
And Dodie.
And Dodie, brilliant. So it was pretty good. And I think from our point of view, what was interesting, wasn't it, is those were the same places that we went to tune in to Diana. You know, that little corridor they stand in before they step outside of the, whether it was all on the CCTV cameras at the time, wasn't it? But they stepped out and then they went out where the paparazzi were all. And you could almost sense the energy of just what that was like there in that spot, you know, and in the Ritz before they were kind of barricaded into the Ritz by all these paparazzi all clambering upon you.
Awful.
And it makes you think about fame. What is it like to have that level
on your
of
nerves,
fame?
wouldn't it?
You know, it'd be horrifying. It's more than get on your nerves. She had no peace and quiet whatsoever.
Yeah.
And people I spoke to also, that we've mentioned this before, but before we did that show, it kind of triggered out the fact that I'd already done a reading for someone that knew Diana before. And I told her that Diana, I gave her some good evidence and said that Diana had given you something that she stole from the palace owned by the Romanovs, a pillbox. And I said, how did you know that? And showed me the pillbox that she'd given to her. She used to pick things up at the palace and give them away, valuable things, you know. And she said that Diana was actually horrified all the time, of paranoid of being chased by the Secret Service, and was always, everywhere she went, she would check out to see if there were microphones there, you know. So
Terrible, isn't it?
I think the thing where, I don't know what you guys think, if you've got any ideas, if you've seen it, but I think some of the things that program missed was the paranoia that must have surrounded that whole situation. Because in the bit where they go through the Elma tunnel, I mean, that is the key that everybody asks the questions about. You know, what was the flash of light? That wasn't shown on the show. There was just showed the man and his dog watching that phoned. But what was the Fiat car? Was the and they did make it just look like a straight accident, which we thought it was ultimately. But you know, there were so many other questions that program could have investigated.
They've got to be
couldn't it?
careful, haven't they, as well?
And what about Al Fayed and his attitude? I mean, they put it across that he appeared to
Just want his passport.
just want his passport and just want his son in a position of power, so his empire could be expanded even more.
Yeah, but I felt sorry for him as well because he lost a son. It's just as bad.
Yeah. So any more thoughts, Jane? I've been talking a lot, you know.
I know you have.
Yeah, because I mean, it was your idea to do this, and I've been talking. Yeah.
No, I think if you put yourself, not that I'm Princess Diana, if you put yourself in that position, you know, you didn't have any freedom, you didn't have any peace, you're being watched. And I don't think for one moment she would have married Dodie because she was really in love with Dr. Khan, really.
Yeah, I beg to differ on that. I think she would have married.
No, she wouldn't have married him,
I think
Craig.
she would have married
No.
Dodie, but I don't think she'd have done it straight away.
No, she wouldn't have married him because she's told
Because they
her
made
boys...
out in it that
No, she wouldn't have.
Dodie had been rejected. Now nobody knows whether he had been rejected or not because he did buy the ring, but whether that ring was an engagement ring or
she
not
just liked
is
it.
questionable. They on the show they made it look as if, oh, that's an interesting ring. Yeah, that's nice, you know. But a woman don't look at rings thinking that, you know, when they're courting, as it were, thinking I just like to own a ring.
Well,
a ring
I do.
Yeah, you do now. You'll collect jewelry because
No,
that's what
before.
but you know what I mean. You that sort of thing is usually
No,
an
I
engagement or
think she
something.
was in love with that Dr. Khan because he couldn't marry her because he didn't want the attention. He was a heart surgeon, and you know, and I just felt really she just needed breathing space, didn't she?
Yeah,
She just got out of a unhappy marriage, so that's the last thing she'd want.
yeah. So I think it was. So what are your thoughts, guys? Any questions about some of the things that we know? We went through Paris. We went through the tunnel. We did various things. Any thoughts about, you know, what you'd like to ask us about our thoughts about Diana and what we felt, and you know, what did you think about the show, you know, and so on.
Michelle, I've just finished watching the series. Some double actors, some look so alike than their characters. That was
Yeah,
true.
they're absolute doubles.
I thought they
weren't
were brilliant.
You know,
I didn't care much for the Prince Charles because he looked like to me he could work in a greengrocer's.
Yeah, I
or...
think I'd have put a couple of plastic ears on him. He
No,
might have
not
made it a bit
plastic.
more convincing.
No, he wasn't very convincing.
He played the part well.
He played the part, but he
but
wasn't
you've got
like
to have
Charles.
the face. And I
Yeah.
suppose to make a program like that, you know, I mean, how on earth could you ever find people that are both good actors and actresses, and at the same time can actually look the part? Very difficult. Of course, in the future, what you can do is take that program and map onto those
AI.
faces, the real faces, using AI.
That's right.
That would make a really strange program, wouldn't it, to watch with the real faces of the
Yeah, well,
Queen?
I enjoyed watching that programme, and I'm looking forward to December the 14th when we've got Harry's wife.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Squid Game, but I'm not allowed to say anything about that.
Well, why are
I'm
you
not
then?
even
Why are you?
But keep watching for that too, guys. Yeah. Patricia is saying, "Hi, Jane and Craig. I watched your series with Diane. It was
Seance.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Seance with Diane. It was brilliant. Very professional.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. We weren't anything to do with the making of it because the actual professionals of the team was a top American company that came in to film it.
What was so interesting, we had it took lots of photos of us, even when I was meditating, and I think a maid that worked in that hotel at the time, she got a boyfriend that had a motorbike to steal all the photographs because they thought they could sell it into the press.
Yeah, we had all the photos were stolen
Of
and
us.
equipment as well when
of
we were in
us.
London, wasn't it? When we were in London in Piccadilly, I think area we were staying there, weren't they? And a motorbike came in, stopped outside, someone ran in, grabbed
Took
all
my
the
photographs
equipment,
of me.
ran out, and all the photographs that had been taken were all the stills
Like
disappeared.
PR stuff.
A lot of the equipment disappeared. Some of the filming we had to redo. It was very very horrible when that sort of thing happens. But it was a big company, and the professionalism of it was good because we had a guy called Paul Chirac, who's big name in Australia. He was friends with Morecambe and Wise and people like that.
Morecambe and Wise.
Yes, he was.
Roger Moore.
Eric Morecambe, he was great friends with
Roger
too.
Moore.
And Roger Moore, yeah. And
And Steed.
and Steed, of course, we had Steed on the show from what's it? I can't remember his real name now. Yeah, gone age.
He's had his tea.
Patrick something in there. Anyway, yeah, I've had my milk sop. and I can go to sleep now. Patrick McGoon. No,
Don't even go there. Just
Steve.
get on with it.
I'm going to say Patrick McGoon, but that's not quite right.
No.
Is it? That's the other one. Anyway, he was on it as well and actually introduced the show. So they got professional people, and of course, the research that you have to do for something like that was phenomenal. To find people who are prepared to sit in a seance, because not everybody's open to that idea, and to get people that knew Diana not just as sort of, many people met her, millions met her, but people who actually worked with her and knew her and saw her daily basis. That was pretty good. So it was, I really enjoyed making that program, although it was terrifying to do. And I will add, we didn't take a penny for it. The press were saying, "Oh, they're doing it for the money." We didn't. All the money was given to the Prince's Trust. We said we can't do this and take a fee for it because it would look wrong, wouldn't it?
But I gave my fee for the Cancer Ward, Pierre Brown.
No, that was the BBC stuff we gave.
We've done
Pierre
so
Brown,
much.
but we gave all the money from that to the other one. That was But we've done that a lot with people. So I'm glad you like that, Patricia. That's great. Yeah. Do you think Diana really wanted to come through to you? Is it possible she knew in advance there would be a seance?
Possibly, because I can remember sending my thoughts and prayers up to the spirit world, and I heard clearly, "You will see white roses on the table, and go ahead, we'll be working with you, and it's all going to happen." Because I thought, we're putting our heads on the block here. And it did. And when we went in there was all white roses on the table.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I think the way they did it is they wanted us to first go and see what we could pick up around Paris and London and all the sites. So like I showed you before, Dodie's flat that we went to, but then they took us all around Paris, and it was interesting because I think I certainly was feeling gradually a closer and closer connection with the spirit of Diana as we did it, because so it was a little bit like in advance that she was kind of, what's this going on? The thoughts were going up, I think, all the time. And I think the connection was made. And so I think she would have known. And I do believe she wanted to come through. Like
absolutely.
I said, I thought she was a bit mischievous with it, a bit mischievous.
Yeah, because you have to have a very, very strong attitude and be nice and calm when you do these things, and just send your thoughts up. Whoever's meant to come through will come through. And the spirit world did come through, because we'd never met any of these people beforehand. And I, as usual, I'm the first to go on, and I can remember seeing all these movie cameras all coming down, and there was a wall of televisions, and I heard the producers say, "Action, Jane, go through, we're all with you," and sit at the table. And I always like to say a prayer before I link with spirit. And I remember there was a gentleman opposite, and he was smirking. I think he was skeptical, and I told him off to close his eyes and send his thoughts up.
Yeah.
And even he came out and said, "I felt that was quite remarkable what happened."
I think we did sort of convince people who had never sat or been with a medium ever before. So it was nerve-wracking, and I think the evidence we gave, of course there was stuff on camera, but they don't show everything. There was other stuff too that we'd said off camera.
Hard work.
And it was pretty damn terrifying, actually. I think it was one of the most scary forms of mediumship to do it. Remember, we were doing a large part of this, we were doing live, and there was a link up with America. Originally, it had been planned to go out on all broadcast all over America, but then there'd been a lot of objections to it.
No, they had.
There had been objections to it.
No, it wasn't that. It was because there was another big event.
No, that was also in the way. But I mean, it didn't reach the audience it was originally planned to meet. But even so, millions watched it. I think there was 30 million watched it live, which is not a huge audience actually in terms of TV, but it's still big. And then it was shown and reshown and reshown all around the world, and it caused a lot of interesting press, good and bad. But we learned our lessons from that about what it's like, and in a way we felt a little bit like Diana did too, because it's something about her energy that the interest that it develops is incredible.
Well, your life's
really.
not your own, is it?
No, I wouldn't like to have been Diana.
Yes, we did pick up.
So let's read it out. So, hi, Craig and Jane. Did you pick up Diana's spirit when you went through the tunnel in Paris?
Yes, we did, and they were really rushing us through there, and the film crew, and we just felt as it was, which you will see in a minute.
Yeah, we can. I've got that clip to show you in a moment, but they had to take us through a couple of times actually, because the first time they took me through, I couldn't say anything. I just couldn't pick up. It just didn't feel right to be going through a tunnel, driving through a tunnel and trying to pick up the energy. But then second time through, I'd managed to get myself tuned and managed to get myself tuned in and started saying things. And it was I thought it was a little bit touchy going through a place where a person had died like that. Particularly,
several people died through there.
Yeah, but I mean, to do it, I thought doing that was a little bit edgy for us to do. But it was still interesting television to do, and it was an interesting experience for us. By up to that point, we'd been on television quite a lot. We'd done the Big Breakfast. It was we before the BBC series, wasn't it? Before the Bio Channel series, but it was still we'd still done quite a lot of TV, but nothing quite so, I suppose, controversial.
Yeah.
And I've always liked doing a bit of controversial stuff, as you know from my channel.
And I think when we actually went through the tunnel, you're actually picking up the persona of Diana and what she felt, and it was quite scary because we had to go at such a speed, then do a second take, and then people was watching us all over by the bridge. Yeah, and they wondered what was going on.
It's strange. Actually, let's put that clip on now. All right, so I've got a clip here, just a clip from the show there. This will just guarantee that we won't be able to get any revenue on this tonight's show because we'll get a copyright strike on the set music, I expect. But anyway, here we go. I'm sure you'd like to see this. What do you think about this feel around this area then, Jane?
I really get a sicky feeling here, as if I'm panicking a little bit because I just want people to leave us alone. This is what I'm feeling that Diana's feeling, and I'm feeling as if Dodie's saying, don't worry my darling, it'll be okay.
The paparazzi, I feel, are already here. Yeah. There's a feeling of this.
It's just like, let's get out of here quick and let's go. And there's sort of a rush because I can feel a breeze, what I call a psychic breeze.
A lot of people run out of this door, I think. This is the sort of place the paparazzi would have often hounded people, not just Diana. And I think Diana's used to this. It's almost like routine, I mean, we might go and catch a cab or something like that, and it's just ordinary, isn't it? But for her, you're like you're fighting off these bats. But we'll find that out when it comes to the seance, I think.
Then they walked by the Arc de Triomphe to Dodie's apartment.
The ambience here of the Ritz and all the luxury of the places, that really what they really wanted was just to be able to be themselves and get away from the other people. And this is the only place, because Dodie's flat was one of the few places where the government weren't, where she could feel that there was no microphones, no MI5 or whatever upsetting her.
I feel as if Princess Diana would find this place really that she could relax, but there's a feeling here that I'm getting, everything's so hectic, as if people's not leaving her alone, and it's just like a sicky feeling here, as if I just want to get on with my life, and boy, just leave me alone and let me be me. Forget about I'm connected to anything royal, and I just want to be the man that I want to be with. And it's as if I feel there's a feeling here very much as if people are intrusive of my life, and I just want to get through those doors, and I just want to run from people and just be Diana.
Craig was the first to drive the route to the scene of Diana's tragic death. The lightness of the Place Vendôme and the Champs-Élysées has vanished from Craig's eyes as he focuses all his psychic energy on the road ahead. Jane begins and senses information immediately.
There's somebody really speeding up here, and there's a person's face I can see. I get more active over it. As I'm coming here, it's speeding, and it's really speeding really
fast here.
As we're going faster, I can feel the thoughts going through my mind. We're going the wrong way. This is not the normal way to my house.
I'm aware that the person in the front is telling to slow down.
And the last thought of all is for the children. The children. I felt Diana's presence was with us the strongest just before we started filming, as we sat in the Ritz, tuning in to connect with her. I felt her say, yes, it's okay, I'll do this with you, I'll be there. The psychic energy perhaps was at its most intense as we came through the tunnel. I felt a sense of disorientation, a sense of horribleness. And yet, prior to that, I'd felt the joy of the experience that a young lover would have had. So the psychic energy was good and it was also bad. But my feeling is that the continuation of Diana in the next life is what's important. That although this is a tragedy, there is also hope at the end of the tunnel. We are planning a seance so that we are going to try to attempt to make a direct communication with Diana. Now, as a medium, I would tell my sitters that we can never promise who we're going to get through. We can never call up a spirit. We have to have the cooperation of that spirit, and we have to have the love link between the people that are receiving the message and the person in the spirit world. I have an optimistic feel about this, that Diana will attempt to communicate. She wants her story to be known.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it sort of seems a long
Well, I
time ago.
didn't hear a word of that. 'cause
No,
we
you
didn't-
have got the volume down when you're watching it because you know it's on the monitor. But yeah, so so that was it. So you're welcome to ask some more questions if you like, guys. Now, and of course, you're welcome to also open it up to other questions as well. And of course, if you're following the channel, don't forget also have a look in the description below and support the channel. You can become a patron. And if you become a patron, it helps us to keep all this going. And we really do need some more patrons at the moment. So please have a look in the description below. And would you be prepared just to give a little bit each month, just to make sure we can keep this moving and to keep working toward our dream of building a spiritual centre in due course too. But, you know, all of this, what we do here tonight is all very expensive. You know, it takes a lot of time. And if you can support the channel, it's great. And if you can support our work, it's great. But by becoming a patron, it really helps. And you also, of course, I put other bits and pieces up as well that you can have a look at on the Patreon channel. You know, there's all sorts of bits. I might be able to put, you know, a few new bits from this up without advertising, perhaps. So, thanks for joining us again. So let's have some more questions if we can. Has Diana already reincarnated?
I shouldn't think she would have.
No, I would say no to that.
No, I think all her earthly life has all been completed.
I think people reincarnate with their group soul, usually. So I would think that everybody that needs to be with Diana, particularly her boys, would have already died before she would consider reincarnating, if indeed she has to. But I can't answer that, nor can anybody. Because, you know, who knows when the person reincarnates. I don't believe people reincarnate instantly. People stay in the spirit world, of course, you know, because that's what we communicate with mediumship. So they stay over there usually for quite a long period of time before they reincarnate, and the connections that they had with this world are then filtered away and they can start again with a fresh life. That's as I understand it.
Yes. Was Diana destined to die in Paris? Many astrologers warned her before that Paris was a dangerous city for her. Russell Grant, for one. Well, I don't know that because I don't know what Russell said.
I didn't know Russell Grant said that, but
No,
he's
I don't.
He's
But-
a sincere fella. I
yeah,
met him once.
and
He's a
also
nice guy.
Rita Rogers, that was her clairvoyant, because you remember there was 350 psychics that Diana consulted on phone lines. And so Rita Rogers, I believe she took which you'll see the series, a helicopter tour. We don't know what Rita Rogers actually said, because Rita Rogers was really from a travelling background, but the Rita Rogers they've shown in Netflix is totally different than the Rita Rogers I know.
Yeah, yeah. I think Rita Rogers was one of the only real psychic that she really closely
Face to
connected
face.
with. Diana did see various healers. She did see astrologers as well. That's true. And loads of mediums and psychics are claimed to be Diana's psychic, but actually she phoned hundreds by the lines, and most of the time they didn't know when they were talking to her or not. And I think a lot of the time people assumed they were when they weren't, as well. So yeah. Was Diana's death really an accident?
Yes, as far as we know, it was an accident. And we know that when she went over the other side, that she, we were told by the spirit world that her father would be with her. And also, what's that nun called? Sister Teresa.
Yeah,
Mother Teresa.
Yeah. And yes, of course, obviously the program makers were hoping we'd be saying that it was all murder and a conspiracy and things. I mean, they weren't telling us to say what we were to say or anything, but we had to do what we felt. And it seemed strange to me to be able to say it was an accident, because knowing already that Diana had fears for her life, I mean, and she was terrified. She did believe that they might try to kill her, and I think the public thought they might try to kill her even. I made a prediction in one of the newspapers that there would be a royal car crash, and I thought at the time it would be Prince Charles. As it turned out, it wasn't Charles, it was Diana, but you couldn't see it all completely. I said that in the Daily Mirror.
Then, Craig, you might have been picking up the Duke of Edinburgh.
No, that was going right back at the time. That was going back in those years. That was in the Daily Sunday Mirror. It was in, and So was it an accident? I think it was an accident.
Yeah, because the original car, they switched the car at the last moment because he was in a hurry, Dodie, to get away quick. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been that car.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke to some of the taxi drivers in Paris when they knew what we were doing. The taxi drivers in all around the world it was a chauffeur really, but he'd been the chauffeur for Wallace Simpson, this man. But he said, but amongst the taxi drivers, they were saying that the vehicle that Paul Henry, wasn't it, was his name, took out. Henry Paul, that's it. Took out was not fit. It hadn't been. They switched cars, but the car had not been properly maintained, so could have had problems with its steering. Could have pulled to the left and hit the pillar. And also, he'd been drinking in the bar. They did show that in the Netflix program.
There was 2 Pernod.
And they showed the Pernots. They showed 2 Pernod. Pernod's quite a strong drink. It's as strong as
but
ouzo.
the French always drink that.
They drink it all the time. 2 Pernod wouldn't affect someone's.
No.
But how many did he have? That was the question. How much was the blood level?
I think we also got to remember they were driving at high speed, being chased by the press on motorbikes.
Henry Paul was often given the blame for it, and I think that was wrong.
That's unfair.
Because I think he was, he'd only been pulled in at the last minute to take him, and took a route that was unfamiliar, because the route they took was not the route you would normally take to go to Dodie's flat, because Dodie's flat is right on the Champs-Élysées. You can go that way, but it's not the route you would logically take. So for some reason he diverted. Was that to try to shake off all the motorbikes that were following you? It would be very hard to concentrate, wouldn't it? I mean, if people knocking on your window and trying to take photographs and getting up as close to the vehicle as you can.
Like a pack of wolves.
And you just, I don't expect Henry Paul was used to driving like that. Who is? Nobody. It's so unusual. So, yeah, I think it was an accident. Even with all the ideas of the Flash, was the Flash?
One survived, which was the bodyguard, and he's got no memory of it whatsoever.
Yeah, and maybe that's convenient in a way, isn't it? But then, who knows? Who knows? And of course, then there was all the questions of why was she kept in the ambulance so long? But then that is what the French do. They do tend to try to resuscitate someone in the ambulance first, on the spot, rather than take them straight into hospital. So they were trying to save her life on the spot. Where people say, where's the deliberate delay to murder her?
Right. Catherine says, Catherine P., do you think she was a bit psychic and that's why she was paranoid about Press being killed? No, I think it wasn't because she was psychic. I think it's because she had so much done to her and been followed and listening into on the phone and everything. It was enough to make anybody paranoid, wouldn't it?
I
And
think
that
she
being
was
watched.
quite aware, though. I think she would
Oh,
have
yeah,
been
I
a
think
bit
she's-
psychic, like you said, but I wouldn't say psychic
No, she's
full
not
on. But I mean,
psychic.
I think she must have been sensitive.
Sensitive.
Because she's a Cancerian and she's quite open, very, very empathic. Cancerians are generally to people's emotions. I think she would be. I think she would have. And from the people I spoke to and we spoke to ourselves, you know, she was certainly very interested in the psychic world. She was very interested in healing. She was very interested in astrology. She perhaps a large part of it was because she wanted to find out what to do. She was up against a brick wall, had
awful.
nobody to speak to, so she turned to psychics. But I think she would have been attuned herself a bit. I think she would. I think she did have a bit of a, you know. I think if you'll get an interest in psychic things a lot, if you meet a lot of psychics and go to a lot of meetings, it naturally starts to rub off. Yeah, and you will start to find your own skills. So probably a bit. I think a bit. Yeah.
Matt, was Diane and Dodie wearing seatbelts at the time of death? Apparently not, because she had internal bleeding by the heart chamber there, because they resuscitated her and they took her straight to the operating theatre, but with internal bleeding they just couldn't do anything because the in back like that. Perhaps if she had worn a seatbelt she might have been still living today.
They say if she worn the seatbelt, she would have lived,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah.
But you know, in a limousine, getting in a
Well,
hurry,
people
and rushing
chasing
off,
you
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 might
don't
have forgotten.
think, do you?
and not everybody at that time was putting seatbelts on in the back seats
Yeah.
anyway.
Kathy, maybe it was meant to be her time was up and it would not matter where's your... That's absolutely true, Kathy. If it's your time to go over on the other side, then nothing can stop it. But interesting enough, I think if she had lived and she had seen King Charles marry Camilla, I don't think that would have been happiness. She would have still suffered, wouldn't she?
Yeah. I think it probably was time for her time to go. I think when your time's to go, it's time to go. If she avoided the tunnel, something else might have taken her. Who knows? Often our great heroes die young, don't they? I mean, Diana died young, but then other people, you think of Elvis, he died young, didn't he? Quite young.
Well, he wasn't that young.
Kurt Cobain and
Marilyn Monroe,
the
36,
Doors
same
and
as
all of it,
Diana.
you know, they become
Yeah.
they become eternally young in our mind. You know, we always see them. If Diana was now, I don't know how old she'd be now, but she'd be getting on. You know, I'm sure she'd fare a bit better than the Camilla, but I think she would. You know, we probably would have a different view of her as time goes on. You know, we don't. Some of the questions were raised in that crown was quite interesting because, you know, it was hinting at that before this accident happened, Charles and Camilla were being seen as okay, you know, and it's as if she was rushing off doing the crazy stuff, but they were remaining dignified. If it had continued, what if she'd had broken up with Dodie and had relationship after relationship after relationship? Who knows what her life would have done? And would we have seen her as the sort of the heroine that we idealized her to be? It's because it was like when she died, it became kind of an archetype for everybody. It was like there was somebody that was the beautiful princess that was ripped out of our lives, and people cried who'd never met her because they could associate their own losses and failures and despairs of life in that story. It became mythical, you know, and this is why it still resonates to this day, and we're still talking about it all this time later, you know. So it became an epic for this nation.
Has Diana healed over in the spirit realm? She has, what's that, Craig?
She had bulimia.
Yeah, and had a few issues. Has she got more wholeness and happiness? Well, I think, you see, when you lose your physical body, and your spirit and your soul goes over, you would not have the same physical condition what you had on the earth plane here. So, I mean, she would have gone back perfect.
Yeah, I remember at the time when we did the seances, which was the most important time for any of the information we got at the time, because we're not in touch with her now. But I mean, when we were doing the seances, and that energy was all with us, she was given us a feeling of happiness. I mean, I think
That's what she needed.
Jane said she's having fun on the spirit side, and the newspapers immediately pull out a headline: Diana's having fun with Mother Teresa on the spirit side. You know, I thought, well, that makes it sound trite. But what we were trying to say is that she was whole, she was restored, she was happy again. And this does happen. I think when we pass into the spirit world, things like bulimia fall away.
That's right.
Things like mental illness fall away. You know, I had a friend that committed suicide, set himself on fire, who suffered from schizophrenia. But when he stepped into the spirit world, all that fell away, said the medium, when he brought an absolute 100% clear communication from him with lots of verifiable evidence. And over again, we find that the messages from the spirit is that once you step over, all the pain and suffering that we worry about that when we see our loved ones passing is almost gone in an instant, because it's of the body. So bulimia would be of the body, although it was psychological condition as well. But even that psychological condition, you drop.
And also, Diana would be working with children on the other side, because she had a love of babies and children with AIDS. So she'd definitely be working with them, because one of the ladies round the table actually worked with Princess Diana through the Red Cross, children with AIDS and things. And she had AIDS herself, this lady. And she said afterwards, it's no mistake, that was Diana talking through both of you, because there's proof only things that I would have known about, that the press wouldn't even know about.
Yeah, that's the difficult part and the most important part of mediumistic communication, you see. When particularly if you're doing anything for a famous person, or particularly if you're doing something about or for a famous person on television, the danger is people could always say, oh, you looked that up. You know, because there's so much information about famous people out there. So when you give a communication with someone, you've got to find something that could never not been written about anywhere, and that only that person and the person in front of them knew about. So Jane and I were picking up on tiny little things. The one that came through at the time is that I said that the woman that was her private secretary, I said that she used to carry a pocket full of pear drops with you, and always have those specially in your pocket for Diana, because she liked them, and you just give her a pear drop. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's so daft, what, pear drops, if that's all the things you could ask the spirit world. But that was significant, because there was nothing, it was personal between her and Diana. It was something tangible that could be described. It was something easy and simple to explain, and yet she bought those specially for her and kept them in her personal pocket or whatever it was. So it was kind of those little proofs, and that's the same in any mediumistic reading, that what you hopefully can give to the person are not things that people can nowadays go and perhaps look up on Facebook and things like that and do research on people. You've got to give the little things that clinch it. You know, it's the little things that clinch it, you know. Like the one the other day, I remember saying to the lady, I wasn't quite sure who it was. I said, well, she dyed her hair red, bright red. Ah, now I know. You know, and that's how it works. It's the little small things, but they're very important as the final thing that just gives that little bit of proof that they know you couldn't possibly
Pauline
know.
says, would you try to connect with her again if loved ones approached you? Well, we can't say that. If I did do anything, and the same for Craig, it would be confidential and private, not for the press.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes, you know, I mean, everything Jane and I do is not always for public consumption, you know. Obviously, it's nice to have famous people give you accolades, but if you are doing a reading for someone that's in a position of power or is well known, you obviously have to keep your confidentiality. That's very true. But certainly, love to do anything for anything. I find it so fascinating, given these proofs, you know. And the thing that's so frustrating when you're a medium is you see sometimes public figures suffering, and you think, oh God, you could just give them, if they just were in a position where you could just give them a message. You know, you don't want any knowledge. You don't need any. You don't need fame and name out of it. You just want to do it just to help that person. And you think just the knowledge that life goes on, just the knowledge that you can give that little thing that only they know, can turn a person's life around sometimes, completely turn it around. When you think of William and Harry, you know, I mean, how horrific it was for those two boys to have to walk behind the coffin of their mother. I mean, terrible thing to have to do. And all the shock, particularly since she's such a loving mother. You know, she's Cancerian. It's all about being mum, isn't it? And yet, if only those boys could have been given a really proper spirit message, you know, it might have changed the way they looked at the world completely. You know, I mean, we knock Harry sometimes and Meghan and that, but, you know, imagine how it would have been if Harry had had some form of proper good communication early on from his mum. He might not have hankered so much to try to find things in this world to sort of make his mum's life have meaning.
Right, Catherine, what sort of past life would Diana have had? Would she have been an ordinary person or always regal? Well, there again, if you given somebody that's given you a past life, you've got to have the evidence. You can't just be something wonderful that you want to be a princess or something like that. It might be many incarnations that she had to go through to come in this life. And I mean, she certainly suffered, didn't she? And, you know, it depends really on your karma or your actions. But I'm sure that she's doing a lot of good work on the other side. And I'm sure, you know, you have lots of people that say, well, Princess Diana came into me in a dream. They might have had her come in a dream. It might have been that she had compassion and love and wants to help others. But it depends. I mean, many of us could be many things in past lives, and we might bring these different gifts through in this life. We don't know, do we?
I don't think it's about worldly status, and I don't think you keep repeating worldly status. It's about your spiritual development that matters. So whatever's necessary for you for your spiritual development might mean at some point you are in the public eye. Other times you might be very obscure. It's all about, it's a personal thing ultimately, and I don't think any soul would want to constantly living in a state of regal existence. It would be totally exhausting, and they probably wouldn't progress. So I think could well be an ordinary person.
Yeah. Spirit animal. Put your glasses on, Jane. I do believe that Charles and Camilla are soulmates, and I say that as someone who is and was a big fan of Diana. Diana was a karmic soul for Charles. They were never meant to be together forever. Well, all I can answer to that, he should have married her in the first place, shouldn't he? That's what my thoughts are, because though they seem very lovey-dovey at the moment, they possibly are suited. But you've got to remember, Diana was only a girl of 19 and fell head over heels in love. And she came from quite an aristocratic family, actually. And, you know, it's all very forgiving that people are forgiving, oh, this is our king and queen. But Charles would not have married Camilla Parker Bowles if the Queen Mother had lived. And I'm 100% sure about that.
Yeah, and I think Diana was a bit too good for Charles in many respects, because I mean she was, she was one of the most good-looking women in the world.
Well, young, innocent,
and Charles was probably not looking for that. You know, and I think he didn't like the fact that it was taking the attention from himself, wasn't it? They didn't like that too much.
My view is he had to marry her, not forced, but marry her because they wanted sons and things like this to continue the royal line.
I suppose his duty came first, you see, and that was a mistake.
But his duty should have come first, shouldn't it?
Duty comes first on one level, that I've got to sire children, but love should come first, really. And I think Charles and Camilla, like you said, if they'd have sort of sorted it out right at the beginning and been a bit more honest, there might have been less problems. And we'd have then never heard of Diana if he'd married Camilla, would we? She'd have just been some, aristocratic sort of person that would never reach the public eye. So maybe there's a reason that it happened, that we needed someone like Diana in the world to start as think about things at the time, a bit like the mines and the,
I mean, really, should King Charles be head of state? Really? That's another thing.
Well, I think we should keep a royalty myself. I'm a royalist. I think.
I'm a royalist, but I'm just.
Thing.
But I'm just thinking. It's all very well saying, head of state and all these different religions.
There's nothing more powerful than symbols. symbols are more powerful than anything, really, whether it be a flag, whether it be a king, whether it be symbolic type of things that represent your country or represent things in your life. You know, symbols are very, very powerful. This religion understood this. And these symbols as what drive us forward. So kingship is a symbol of unity. Although nowadays our symbols are beginning to change a great deal, certainly as a nation, you know, whether we will have the crescented moon in the middle of the British flag one day, you know, I mean, our symbols and our attitude to the world are changing drastically, you know. It would be interesting to channel Queen Mum and hear what she had to say about Camilla being queen. And as far as I remember, Camilla being crowned with Queen Mum's crown. Yeah. I think the Queen's mum, I think, was a very unforgiving person. I get the feeling with her. I feel that she was an
She
unforgiving
couldn't forgive
person.
Wallace Simpson.
No. There was some stories that said that she did forgive Wallace Simpson on her deathbed. But can't remember who said that. There was some rumours of it.
No, that's when Wallace Simpson's husband died.
Yeah, there was something like that. Maybe I've got it muddled somewhere. But yeah, but she certainly didn't forgive them, did she?
Well, they wouldn't even let Princess Margaret marry Peter Townsend because he was a divorcee.
Yeah. I wonder what it is an interest. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you because we're not tuned into that. We haven't got a connection, but that would make a really interesting if you were doing a connection with that. I'll tell you who I think would be one of the most important connections you could do for the royal family was to connect Prince Charles with what's his name, Lord Romsey.
No, Lord Mountbatten.
Mountbatten from
You mean
Romsey.
Lord Mountbatten?
Lord Mountbatten, because I think he was like his spiritual
Grandfather.
mentor, and because of that, I think Charles would gain a great deal from something like that. I feel. And I've always felt that if anybody wanted to connect with the royal family, that would be it. That would be the connection. Because there's, again, another sudden death, you know, and tragic circumstances and great shock. And these are often leave many, many unresolved problems in people's lives. And that's often the times when mediums become very useful, you know, after someone's lost someone very suddenly and unexpectedly or through suicides, or in the case of that, you know, the IRA bomb, you know.
Do you think it'd be possible doing a seance with Queen Elizabeth II? You can't just command that, can you, Craig?
Well, it would be possible, but only if we had recipients around the
You've
table
got to have
who
people
were
that
close to
actually
her.
know them,
Yeah.
not people that are fans of them, actually know everything about them.
And because she was
You know,
very
like
private person on a on a
Well-
personal level, it would probably have to be for one of the family.
Well, it would probably have to be for Princess Anne.
You know, I don't think, you know, it would have to be someone like Princess Anne would be right, but she wouldn't perhaps she wouldn't come through for someone like Tony Blair, for example, or Harold
Paul
Wilson.
Burrell.
No, he's dead. But you know, or any of the people that she'd obviously had contact with, it would. I think she would. Yeah.
Well, the Queen Mother was very interested in spirit contact, and I believe she did do spirit contact at Romsey, at the Mountbattens, and I know because we knew the butler of the
Oh right, yeah,
and they
yeah,
said
yeah.
that she was had quite a sense of humour.
Yeah,
And she
yeah.
had a servant called Backstairs Billy, who was who was gay,
yeah.
and she said, when these Backstairs Billies finish, can you come and serve your queen?
Yeah.
And she was
The
quite
butler told
hilarious.
us a lot of very interesting things,
Yes.
none of which we will repeat.
No,
But there was some
course
very
not.
interesting things going on behind closed doors. But one of the things that positive is that the royal family definitely have in their time had a lot of interest
Queen
in
Victoria.
spiritualism,
Queen
right back
Victoria.
to Queen Victoria, and all the royal families of Europe did as well, and Russia, you know, and so did the Kaiser as well. Was
Catherine the
his
Great.
family were all very interested in it as well, and the Spanish royal court all the way through. If you look at the
The
history of
Tsars.
spiritualism, the Tsars were
Tsars.
too.
they had Rasputin.
Yeah. I mean, Nostradamus too was, of course, tied in with the court of Henry, wasn't it, or whatever it was. You know, so I think there's always been a kind of an interest in it. Who's you've left your phone?
Oh, that's
on?
probably the royal family trying
Yeah.
to get through.
So it's quite yes. It'd be lovely to do a séance with Queen Elizabeth. She's obviously not been through any medium, and I think it would be very unlikely, really,
yeah.
that the circumstances would be right for that to happen. I think that would be something very private. Would be something very much between the
course
royal
it would
family
be.
and the medium, if they ever did see
You'd
a
have to sign a
medium.
confidentiality.
Yeah,
Oh, Nico Cardo, do you think it would be possible
positive or negative.
or negative when you predict the royal family cease to exist? You've mentioned there'd be no more royals in the future.
Yeah, I think the lineage will dry out in time. I felt that William probably be the last.
Will.
But who knows? That's what our feeling was. And I think the world will change a lot. You think how much it's changed in just in our lifetimes, really. I mean, it's gone from a world of, when my dad was, when I was first conceived, 1950s, the world was a very different place with the pottery old cars and things. And now we're in a world of artificial intelligence and coloured television, but not only coloured television, think that we can interact with and all the things that are happening. And we're on the verge of another intellectual revolution with artificial intelligence thing. It was really going to change the world and the environment, and everything's going to change, and nations are changing. Nations have become very, very different. They've become flooded with immigration, which is going to change the way things happen in the world very much. And I think the idea of a symbol, of a unifying symbol of kingship or queen, I think will fade away, because what are they going to be a symbol of? Will our nations start to disintegrate as we know them now, become more divided, and probably, although there's a need for these symbols to hold things together, with the way globalization's been working and the way nations are working, I think we're going to see a fading away of the idea of nationhood, which I think is not a good thing, actually, guys. I think it's good to have a nation and be proud of a nation, not necessarily want to be, go invade other nations, but to be proud of what your nation stands for and the values it has, of all the different nations of the world, and strive to become a better society. But we kind of blending at the edges now. It's all being merged into one sort of grey plasticine as things move forward. And maybe in those times, the idea of a king or a queen, or even a head of state as we know it, will fade away. I mean, I'd rather have King Charles than Joe Biden, put it that way.
Well, Joe Biden's got nothing to do with our country, has he? Mark, should we do an episode in the Tower of London with the history of the place? It'd be interesting what you pick up. Actually, we have been to the Tower of London.
Yeah, we've been
we
through
have
it,
picked up a lot, and we have filmed there.
I did I film some stuff
Yeah,
there? I
yeah,
did
you
film
did.
some, but only stuff on a
About the two princes in the towers, and also about the ravens and that.
But that's some interesting stories there, isn't it? What the things that happened there. It would be brilliant to do, actually. Yeah,
It'd be nice to do a ghost hunt there.
like Tower of London is well worth a visit too, because it's still got a bit of that atmosphere of ancient times, isn't it? It still feels it, even though thousands of tourists have sort of stormed through it, and perhaps that breaks the actual psychometry of the place, as it were.
It's still got residue of their
But
energy.
it's still got the residue of the past, yeah. And it's the mysteries are surrounding it, like the princes, that were killed and things like that, and the people that were put there. Yeah, that would be a great one. Yeah, we'll have a look round. We'll do some more when the summer comes. We'll do some more of that.
The summer comes.
Well, mind you, it's open all year round at the Tower of London, isn't it? But some of the stately homes and the castles, they close up through the winter, don't they? That would be a good one to do.
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely. I think there is much more to this story about Diana Charles that we really know. I think you would all be shocked.
I think you're right. I don't think we get the tip of it, do we?
No.
Really, I mean, when we did the seances there, I mean, we could only pick up a certain amount. I think if you were taught to do it much more off camera, in private, I think a lot more would come out, psychically. You'd be able to pick up on much, much more than you can in a public forum like that. But I'm sure that all the things that went on in the background, we all the stuff that you see on the Crown, because that's what the title of this video was. It's also, most of it was supposition, most of it was guesswork. What did Al Fayed say to Dodi? That was all questionable. What did they say behind the scenes between Charles and Camilla? Very questionable. There's quite a lot in it that has got research, but I think there's so many other things that were perhaps skimmed over a bit, don't you think, Jane, with some of it?
Well, yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? You'll never know the truth, but the truth eventually comes out in the end.
And the stuff we heard from the butlers certainly gives us some shocks, I remember. Yeah.
Well, we could be
stayed in one of the
trillionaires if
stately
we
homes,
told
didn't
what
over
we
the
knew,
year?
but we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Who's
So
this?
we're come to time.
Oh,
we'll have to make this the last one.
Right. Martin Bashir fed Diana a load of lies and made her paranoid. He has a lot to answer for. I think Diana really suffered a lot, not because of him, but she was suffering anyway. I mean, can you imagine living in Kensington Palace and you're watched every moment, and somebody will note down what time you left, what you come back, and then your butler having to put you in the car boot of the car to sneak out. Dreadful.
But Martin Bashir, what a rotten piece of
it's awful.
isn't he?
Awful.
What a thing to do, to trick someone into doing a confess all out of anger, and winding her up to the point that she exploded, and fake documents. I mean, that man, really, he should be imprisoned.
Absolutely.
I think if any, people get put in prison for far smaller things. I mean, this thing affected the whole way the nation went. It affected history, what he did in his lies, and the BBC, again, because that was a BBC thing, wasn't it? It should be brought to book on these things. Absolutely appalling. Anyway, you're much better off watching a show like this, where hopefully it's a lot more honest and sincere, with ordinary people talking to ordinary people. And I think we get to the bottom of it, guys, between us all, don't we, when we do this? But we're coming to the end, so keep watching the show. Watch out for our shows coming up, with lots of hopefully a lot more interviews with people in the future as well. And we'll go and have a look at the Tower of London as well, and things like that. And don't forget, finally, have a look at that description below and become a patron if you can, guys, because it helps. So we'll see you soon.
I wish you well.
Bye for now.